Hello. Okay. So I wanted to rip off Amanda Golka's format because I have a lot of thoughts and I have no one to tell them to. So I also don't like how I look on camera, so I'm trying best not to look at like the viewfinder thing. And I also have these glasses on. Don't think about that. Just be here for my words because I have a lot of them. Um, but yeah, I went to Disguised Toasts, Disguised DSG, Manila fan meet, and I have some thoughts about it. And I'm just gonna start by what is DSG. DSG is Disguised Toast. Disguised Toast is a streamer. I realize that there's a lot of foundation. Disguised Toast is a streamer. He's very big in the gaming sphere, and he's recently made like a slight pivot to managing like an esports organization. That's known as DSG, and it's also like a brand to help like fund the organization. So they do like merch drops, like shirts and like totes and stuff. They do that stuff. And they did a fan event in Manila in the Philippines earlier today. Well, as I'm recording this, it was yesterday. Um, but I'll get into that later. Um, so that happened, and I'm just gonna go through like one by one, like how the day goes. Um, because I have like I just wanted to give like a review. I realized like maybe Amanda Golka's got something, and we're just here now to. I want there to be an equivalent for this event. Because obviously she's not here, and I feel like someone needs to talk about it. I guess. Anyway. Um. So uh starting with like the day itself, or when you walk in, I guess. So you walk in and it's so the space that they rented out for DSG is a theater. It is a university theater known as the UP Theater in the University of the Philippines, also known as Villamore Hall. And it's a pretty like decently sized theater. I don't know how much it seats, maybe about 1,000. Let me actually check real quick. Villamore Hall. It's 2,000. It seats 2,000 people, right? So it seats 2,000 people, and so the ticket says that the event would start at 1 o'clock and that they would open the doors at 12 o'clock sharp. So I kind of planned my ingress into the event like around that. That like okay, so like if I show up earlier than 12, then I have to be waiting like outside of the venue because they won't let us in yet. And then by 12, then you can get in, like get a good seat or whatever, and then it would start at like 1. Like maybe there's some delays, but it's whatever, right? Um, so then I walk up and it's like 12:15 ish. So it's like, all right, I'm a bit late to the doors opening, but at least I'll make it to the event. So I go up to the space and it's like 12:15 and there's already like quite a line. And that's like I guess like okay, there's somewhat of a line, but it's only been 15 minutes and it is a two there's like gonna be 2,000 people showing up to the theater, and it's like sure, it's whatever. And then the line just like didn't move for like until like 5 minutes before 1, I think, was when it started moving. And that's just like way too. I was like very getting really like annoyed that like we were getting so close to the time and they wouldn't let us in. I had um a VIP ticket. The VIP ticket doesn't actually mean anything. It's more like there's just like certain rows that are designated to be like more expensive, but it's there's nothing like special about it. It's really just like your distance from the stage. um and uh so you when I did that, there was like no there was only like one really prominent line, but like as you got closer to the doors, um, you there were like multiple lines, and apparently they kind of have like multiple lines depending on where your seating is. But that's not clear if you walk up to the theater. You'd have to like skip the line and see where the line goes to even know what was going on. There's like no communication as to which line means which, and it didn't even matter because for the longest time the line didn't even move, and it wasn't until like like 1 o'clock that the line started to move, which is 1 o'clock was like when it started. And this is a rumor, so I'm not entirely sure, but I just overheard one of the security that was working there that like the people the doors were open, but it was only the doors of the theater itself and not the door. Sorry, it's more like doors to the building, but not the doors to the theater. So everyone was just like piling up in the lobby, and they were just piling up in the lobby, and like they just wouldn't open the doors. So like everyone outside was just waiting in like the heat. It wasn't super hot, but it was like on the hotter side. So it was stuff. It was not a great experience. Um, but I think what was frustrating the most is that so the only reason the line started moving is because at 1 o'clock they just started letting people into the theater itself so people could get to their seats. And so I got my wristband for the VIP section, which was like the first. It's a lot. It's like the first I IJKLM 13 rows. The first 13 rows of seats are like listed as VIP, and that's a lot of seats, but like I think there's like a complete lack of control or oversight as to whether or not you're like getting the right you're being seated in the right sections. Like I don't think there are any controls because I straight up just walked in there, asked like, "Hey, where are the VIPs supposed to sit?" And they were like, "Hey, anywhere's from row A through M," and then you could just go. Um, so if I just walked up, asked that, and like I don't, I recall my wristband being looked at when I got into the theater, but not to my actual seat. So if I had like a lower balcony or something, or like an orchestra or whatever, and I would just walk to a VIP section, like literally no one was checking, or at least that's what my experience was. Another thing that was like quite annoying, and the event didn't do assigned seating. It was just, hey, you bought this ticket, so you're in this section, and it's up to you where you sit. That was like kind of rough looking for a seat because sometimes I had trouble finding a seat because some people like had their like bag or stuff like on a seat, and so I assumed that was taken. But like I don't know for sure whether or not that's the case, right? And oh yeah, another thing. Sorry. Because like there was no like segregation, not because there was like no splitting of the lines to get in. So you had so many people that kind of just like so many VIPs were already seated, and it just sucked because like it's 13 entire rows that span like like most of like the whole section, like all the way from like the center all the way to like the wings. So it's like the first 13 rows, and that's a lot. Like the quality you get from like center and then off to the side, you're relatively close still to the stage, but like one of it's not a similar experience. And so like one of those like seats that were there that were like earlier, like, and there was no reserve seating. It was first come first serve, except first come first serve in like a way that like I couldn't even get into the building because there was a freaking line, and the line wasn't even organized. It was just like the whole. I mean, I got a decent. I kind of lucked out on where I wanted to sit anyway. Like I just saw an empty seat and I asked like the two people that were like next to it, it's like, hey, is this taken? Is this taken? They were like, no. That's why I just sat down. It was kind of like a decent seat, but like the experience, like stressing out that I could have had like a bad seat despite paying like for something that yeah, it didn't have reserved seating, so I guess that's my fault. But it's like the experience was kind of like stressful. So that's like the pre-show stuff. The show itself, it was good. It was fun. I have Do I have notes? I don't really have any notes for the show. I had a lot of fun in the show. Brief rundown of the show. You have two hosts, a guy and a girl. Their names escape me, and then you have everyone in DSG come out, all of the guests. Oh God, did I mention if they were which the guests there were? The guests were, so you have this guy's toast. It's his company. It's his event. Obviously, he's gonna be there. And then there's like 10 other guests. You had, oh my God, I'm just gonna bring up this. I'm just gonna bring up the site. Hold on. So yeah, you had what's guy's toast? You had Tenzin. You have Quarter Jade, you have Sidion, you had Skara, you had Masayoshi, you had Star Smitten, you have Shanik, you have Brodin, you have Peter Park, and you have Shifter. Um, Pretty like big streamers are all here, so all of them were entertaining. The segments were fun. Um, there was a bit though. There was like a game. It was kind of like a food or dare. They call it eat or dare. Food or dare is just a better name. Food or dare where they had to either pick a dare or spin a wheel. And the wheel would all just be like Filipino like street food or like like food delicacies. And like everyone just chose to eat. Like no one was bothering to do the dares except for like Peter, who decided to eat and also do the dare. And it was like, I feel like you should have just done like a food eating competition because some of them were really into it. I was like so happy that like they were so into it. Like the game just kind of like fell off to the wayside. Because everyone was just like so like down to eat like the different types of food that they had out there. It was fun. They had other games. They had a like there was a bit where they did a mystery box where like they would like reach their hands into a box and like try to figure out what the thing in the box was, and it could be like disgusting, it could be alive, and stuff like that. That was funny. Then there was like the whole like um there was a segment where you had the question, like you'd ask the 11 people that are there a question, and they'd be like, oh, who's the most likely to do this. They did that. It was pretty fun. Oh, the Q&A section was very funny. They did like 6 questions from the audience, and I think all but one question was very like serious. I don't want to say it harsh the vibes, but it's like one guy just said like, "Hey, who's the best?" They asked this, I think, to Toast. Like, "Hey, who's the best at Among Us, and who's the best partner to have in as an imposter in Among Us, and who was like the best to marinate?" And that's the lightest question. Everything else was just like, "Hey, have any of you thought of quitting? Have any of you thought of um, what is it? Have any of you thought of uh?" What does it take for longevity, or how do you like deal with like burnout? And it's like I think I don't know if this was what Skara was referring to, but we had like 3 like of those questions, or maybe 4 of those questions like in a row, and Skara did like this gesture, and I was like, yeah, these questions are like so like deep and harsh, like whoa. I don't know, it's funny in retrospect. um, and then there's like the last segment. They had like a bowl of like names of people who signed up to like 1v1 one of the people on stage in Tekken. Like they did us like a best of 5 like one series, and it was really really exciting. No notes on the show. No notes on the show. The show was 2.5 hours long. I would say the breaks are like in total maybe like 15-20 minutes. Everyone was excited. Everyone was hyped. Great. No notes. So the event was supposed to start at 1. That's what it said on the website, and that's what we were expecting. It didn't start at 1. It started at 1:30 ish, because they only opened the door and had everyone had to take their seats. So at around 1:30 it started, right? Okay. So it started at 1:30, and it's about 2.5 hours long. So it ended at like 4 ish, right? It ended at like 4 ish. Okay. I realize I haven't mentioned this now, but I will now bring it up. Apart from the fan event, there are meet and greets. There are 2 meet and greets. They are divided into groups. Group A has a meetup with 6 people. Both of the groups are meeting 6 people. Disguise Toast, Skara, Star Smitten, Shifter, Tenzin, and Peter. Okay? That's group 1. Group 2, Disguise Toast, Sidion, Quarter Jade, Brodin, Masayoshi, Cianic. Okay? That's the spread. You may notice Toast is in both. So, um at the end of the show, everyone was sent out of the theater because the show's over, right? Those that have meet and greets, you'll be like, hey, they're gonna take a short break and then they're gonna start the meet and greets, right? Okay, so that happens. They start the meet and greet, and yeah, it's like the six talents. So you have Toast, you have Skara, you have Celine, you have Danny, you have Tenzin, you have Peter. They're all in like a long table, and how it would work is like everyone lines up in group one. Everyone lines up. They walk up to one end of the table, and then they meet and they greet. Every single one down the line, ending with like, I think Skara was the last one. Like in the order of the list. Okay, fine. Regular meet and greet stuff. Sure. Here's the problem though. I was in group two. I got a group two meeting. So here's the thing though. Toast is in both groups. So we had to wait. Like like they started the meet and greets, and like you had like rows of people like they were just seated in the theater. They occupied the rows, so they were just like we were just waiting there at the back. Like they at least they let us sit inside the theater where it's like nice and air conditioned. But like we had to wait because Toast was part of our thing, so we had to wait for Toast to be done. So the price is the same for both, mind you. And I'm just saying that like group one did not have to wait. I mean, obviously, if you're at the back of group one, you had to wait, but like every single one in group two had to wait. And I don't know. There were 300 give or take. That's my estimate. I could be wrong. Maybe it's like 250, but like there's got to be like 250 to 300 people per group. So you have if you like meet if you go through if your interaction with someone is 1 minute for 300 people, that's like that's like 5 hours. That's obviously not the case. What ended up happening was for group one to be finished, it was 3 hours long. The time, like I checked my watch, I looked at the clock, it was like 7:30 and group one just finished. So like you have I mean again, I feel for the guy at the back of group one who like waited 3 hours, but 3 hours in, you met everyone. You met Peter, you met Tenzin. And then but like group two, no one has gotten it. No one has gotten to meet anyone. And we've been waiting 3 hours. We've been waiting 3 entire hours at that point. And it was just rough. And then you have Toast. I'm not knocking on Toast. It's I'm just saying that like uh, I the system should have been better so that you could have both run at the same time, but because Toast is in both, one has to come after the other. I had this idea that like maybe if you had like the left side of the stage have be group one and then the right side of the stage be group two, and then they could just like meet at the middle and then like just have Toast be the last stop. But that doesn't like work because Toast you're that means like there's like a huge Toast bottleneck. Like everyone will just be like waiting on for Toast. But I don't know, that might be better because at least you're going through both lines, because the fact that like group 2 had like no one meeting anyone and they had to wait for 3 hours was just absolutely insane. It was the wild it's just so wild. um Again, props to Toast for like championing through it. So when I went, um man, Toast was tired. Like Toast was tired. I hold on, sorry. Let's backtrack a little bit. Um, when Group Two actually came on, you had so all of the guys from Group One, they got up, but when their line was finished, they got up and they had to leave, and then Group Two came in. But that wasn't what happened. Instead, um, what happened was so Skara, Celine, Danny, Tenzin, and Peter got up, and like already like you could see like Sid, Jody, Brodin, John, and Sean. To they were all there on stage because like they were about to swap out, and then like bizarrely, all of like the event people, all the people that were running the event. I don't want to say, I don't know if they're volunteers, I don't know if they're workers, but the people that were running the event, they did that thing where they got their time to like have their stuff signed and have like a group photo with all of the people there. And I understand that that's a cool thing. I've worked at events before, and it's always really cool that you get to do that. That yeah, you work all these long days, and you work with all these wonderful people, and then at the end of the day, they also make their time for you. I get that, but everyone in Group Two was in the room watching. Like they saw Group One be done. Group Two was gonna come in, and then we were there the whole time we were waiting. We were looking at every single person go through Group One and meet them, and it's great for them. And now it's time for Group Two's turn. And then you have this, you have all of the event people come in and like have their stuff signed and have a group photo, and it was just like we were all just like there, and we were like some of us were confused because like usually that's at the very end. Like I've worked at events before. You do that at the very end or at the very least out of sight of like everyone else that was waiting because we've been waiting there for 3 full hours and gotten nothing at that point. Like we were just sitting there looking. Anyway, that's whatever. So yeah, uh, uh, they moved us all to the front because like the front of like the one closer to the stage, that was Group One, that was like going through the line, and then Group Two we were at the back, and then now they've moved us to the front, and now we're like they're going through the line. Cool. Okay. So we were going through the line, and it was great. Well, sort of. So here's the thing. I'm pretty sure like the moment to moment, the person to person is different. If you ask someone else that was there, they probably had different experiences. But this is how like I perceived it. Um, when it was eventually my turn after 5 hours of waiting, so like it started at no maybe like 5.5 to 6 hours, honestly 5.5 to 6 hours of waiting. I finally got my turn, and you know what? I've been like being negative all this time. Let's go to the positives. Sydney is such a gem. She was super like energetic. She was so apologetic. She didn't have to be, but yeah, I guess she could. She also knew that we were like waiting there for like at least 5 hours or 4 hours at that point. Um, so she was super. She was just like, if you give her a happy energy, she will give back a happy energy to you. And I don't know, like she was just super nice to talk to. The same thing goes with Jody. The same thing goes to John. The same thing goes with Brodin. Same thing goes with Sean. It's like all of them. They just like they really kept the energy up. It was like I was like just boiling in my seat for slowly like simmering over 6 full hours, and then those guys like they really cooled me down because like obviously I waited there for them. I want to meet them. I want to say exchange some thoughts with them, and they good. I had a good time. I had a good time. Toast did the best that he could, and honestly, if you had to like meet people for like 5 6 hours straight, no breaks, because all the other guys they had like 3 hours max. Toast had to go through the whole ringer. So what a champ! Like he was still like positive. He was still like engaging. If when you talk to him, he still would like give you a photo and like try to like have a good photo with you. So it's like honestly, no notes for the talent for the people at the meet and greet. Peter was like if from throughout all of Group One, like Peter, Sydney, Tenzin. I didn't get too much of a good look at Danny, but like Skara, like all of those guys. Again, they were keeping the energy up. Like it was good. No notes. When it was my turn for the meet and greet, um, I just noticed that like they were kind of like upping the tempo a bit. I I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I felt that I was being rushed. And maybe, if you are like such a if it I mean it's a very unique experience, or at least it was for me, and I'm sure like if you meet your favorite streamers that might be similar. But, for me, it was an interesting experience in that I felt like I was being rushed. Like I would say that I got really good like short conversation with Sydney and Jody, and then once it started getting to John and Brodin and Sean and Toast, I felt like I was being rushed. That might just be me. That might be of my own. Maybe I could have taken my time. I just felt that I was being rushed. So, mm, but I can demonstrably say that at around my time, which is at around 9:30, 5.5 hours since the show ended and the meet and greet started, at around 9:30, there was like a noticeable like inconsistency with how much like the staff are willing to help you. So like for example, I think the only real example, basically I'm miffed. So what happened was that I know that before at some point, maybe during group 1, maybe during group 2. Anyway, it's all a fever dream. That's why I'm recording this now. Like it's as fresh as it can get, and even now I'm like losing it. But like I know that there was like an usher or like a helper at every single like bit of the table so that you don't have to take a selfie, they can take the picture for you. But at around my time, that wasn't happening at all, and like I did get the pressure. Like the ones that were there, they were like telling you to like, hey, like keep up the tempo, like you gotta move on to the next guy, keep it short, keep it brief, and that's their job. But sure, but like earlier, I didn't get like any note. Like some people had like really, I don't want to say drawn out, but like I don't think they felt rushed. I could be wrong, but I don't think they felt rushed. And they had like help to have like, people have like their picture, but like you had some people that like, so it's a long table, but some people could get like behind the table if like the third guy is a person you want to be standing next to in the picture. They would go around. By the time it was like around my like row or like my like group of people that I was near, there was none of that. Like it was like rough because like I guess everyone was kind of tired and fed up, and I can understand that. But like I don't know, is it wrong to say that like we've waited the longest? Shouldn't you give us? I don't know. No, give is not the right word. It's just like we've waited so long and we're getting like I don't want to say worse, but like we're getting a different lesser experience than the people that came before. It doesn't feel right. I still had a good time. I loved talking with I love the words that I exchanged with all of the guys. Like, even though like my time with John and Broden and Toast and Sean were like quick, I still had fun. It's just like it felt like an anticlimax. I mean, I don't know if the people that went earlier than me also felt that, but like I don't think I could have gotten. I'm not saying I want a full drawn out conversation. I'm just saying that like I've seen people have like good connection, not connections, like good quick talks. Watching them, I watched 5 hours of it, and then when it came to like at around our range towards the end, it just a lot of it felt like they felt contracted, and it sucks. Like, and I don't know. There's just the event was great, but there's just a specific small group of people that it just didn't like. There's a lot of honestly the people that like walked out of this the best were the people in group 1 that were like somewhat early on, and then yeah maybe sort of late on, like 3 hour wait. That's pretty bad, but group 2 having to have at least a 3 hour wait just from the get go up to 6 hours. It was rough as like because I thought that I would be done by like 6 p.m. or like 5 p.m. because the ticket said it was like it starts at 1 and the show could end at around 3 to 4, and then you do meet and greets. And not everyone was sure how many meet and greet slots there were because it is limited slots, right? So you would when it became clear that there were 600 people that are doing the meet and greets, people in group 2, it knowing that there it was sequential, and like group 2 was at the back half of the line, it felt like you were in for a wait. I don't know if I mentioned this. It's a small detail, but Villamore Hall has like really crap Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi only started to get good at around like 8:30, 9 p.m. because like so many people have like vacated the building by that point that like it started to become okay. And there was like no data. Like there was no like mobile data. So you just had to rely on the Wi-Fi on the building and the super unreliable data if you did get any signal. So a lot of that vibe. I mean, obviously, I made some friends and I had some connections. I talked with the people around me, but like a lot of you can only talk about your favorite streamers for so long with people that you just met, and a lot of it was just like lamenting, um, about like waiting so long. Um, this is like I guess the final segment of this, but Sydney even talked about it. I overheard like Sydney, like talking to the people that talked to her about it. But 8 months ago, there was this convention called Conquest, and Conquest Day 2. Conquest was attended by other people from offline TV, and around like this guy's host group of friends. So like Pokimane was there, Lily Pichu, Michael Reeves, right, Yvonne, Jamie, um, like Valkyrie, those guys, right, a bunch more. But it was a big convention, and that big convention became infamous for having absurdly long lines in day two. In day two, you could show up to the venue at 1 p.m. and it could be 5:30 p.m. and you still aren't even in the venue. Like you're still not even inside. The lines were so long and or barely moving. And the fact that I thought and you know when I got in here, at least it's like it's a theater. You know exactly how many seats you're gonna sell. You should have like a reasonable expectation of time. I had to miss the train. This it's getting a bit personal, but I had to miss the train. It costs like a certain amount for me. When I go there, when I went there, I took two trains and the bus. And the jeepney. You don't know what those are. So there you go. I took a bus, two trains, and a jeep. All of that costs a certain amount. The later in the day you go, it starts to get harder to take public transport. So I ended up just getting like an Uber, a Grab, an Uber. You get the idea. And my the amount that I had to spend went up like 8 times, 9 times, maybe even 10 times. Hold on, how much did it cost? Let's go with 9 times. Yeah, it's about that much. I spent 8 or 9 times more on the ride home because it went so long. Like I thought I would be done at like 5, 6, or 7. I could go home, but I went home at 10 o'clock, like 9:30, 10 o'clock. It was like 20 minutes was just like waiting to see if anyone would take an Uber because I live so far away. Everyone I talked to, they were living like at the very least closer to me. I think I was like the furthest one out that took public transport. Like maybe other people lived further, but they had cars. But like it was rough for me, and I had a fun time. This is what sucks though. Like I had a fun time. The show was great. The show was great. The meet and greet itself in isolation was amazing. Everyone brought in a really good energy. Yeah, like they signed like some merch and it was good, but I'm just at the end like I just felt conflicted because I had fun, but all of the stuff around it was not a good experience. Like the line to get in, the seating procedure, the line to get to the the meet and greet, um, how long the meet and greet took, like the fact that it wasn't like I feel for Toast. I understand why Toast was on both groups. I understand why Toast was in both groups, but like um I don't he was very tired towards the end and you could feel it and everyone else was kind of like cheering him on towards the end like every once in a while we would just be like yeah Toast you can do it just power on my dude because I really think if maybe there was another guest or maybe if group 2 just didn't have Toast in it. I love Toast, but I want to give that guy a break. He's probably hungry. He's probably tired. Needs coffee, and if you could have two like meet and greet things happening at the same time, so that no one would have to wait 6 hours, or it would have been better. Um, yeah, that's kind of it. I don't have anyone to talk to about this. And I'm tired. I got home like an hour and a half ago, and I just thought, hey, press record. Um, so there you go. I'm just gonna upload this unedited. And hopefully someone will hear it, or yeah, there you go. Bye.